Welcome back to These Things Are Written on this Wednesday. It's great to have you back as we continue to look at Psalm 25. So far in Psalm 25, we have seen three requests come from the psalmist. The first request is that he might not be put to shame. The second request is that the Lord would teach him, the psalmist, the Lord's way. And the third one would be that in God's mercy that he would not remember the sin. As we begin reading verses 8 through 10, we get into the first part where we hear a different voice speaking of the goodness of God. Verses 8 through 15, we continue by reading. Good and upright is the Lord, therefore he instructs sinners in his way. He leads the humble in what is right and teaches the humble his way. All the paths of the Lord are steadfast love and faithfulness for those who keep his covenant and his testimonies. For your name's sake, O Lord, pardon my guilt, for it is great. Who is the man who fears the Lord? Him will he instruct in the way that he should choose. His soul shall abide in well-being. His offspring shall inherit the land. The friendship of the Lord is for those who fear him, and he makes known to them his covenant. My eyes are ever towards the Lord, for he will pluck my feet out of the net. Verses 8 through 10, as I said earlier, is the first of the statements about Yahweh. It's kind of cognitive truths. They're truths that we know that are easy to say and to explain. Sometimes, like what we do to people when they're going through a down time, we give these little pithy sayings about God that are true to help them through when really they kind of need our listening ear or someone simply to sit with them. Perhaps this is input from a friend who is trying to help, or maybe it is the person reasoning within himself. We don't know. In line 1 of verse 8, we see a statement with three parallel results of that. Good and upright is the Lord, because he is good and upright. Therefore, he instructs sinners in the way. He leads the humble in what is right. He teaches the humble his way. Those three things, all with those who are sinners, who need to know, those who are humble, who are open to learning. All the paths of the Lord are steadfast love and faithfulness, going back up to sandwich those three in between the first part of 8 and the first part of 10, and then kind of wraps up with this statement, for those who keep his covenant and his testimonies. This is a truth. The path of the Lord are steadfast love and righteousness for those who keep his steadfast or his covenant and his testimony. But when we read that, sometimes we get the feeling that, okay, if this isn't happening to me, then it must be something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not keeping his covenant. Maybe I'm not doing my part. It can also be taken as prosperity gospel, that God will prosper those who are faithful to him. But in fact, God says we will have difficult times. We will have trouble in this life. But yet, even through those difficulties, the Lord is guiding our paths with his steadfast love, with his faithfulness. And while these are good things to say and good reminders, sometimes it comes across not so good. Celestka says cognitive truths are not always the best with a distressed person. Sometimes the distressed person doesn't want our pithy sayings about God. Sometimes we just need to listen. The person making the prayers comes back again, really repeating the third petition of his prayer. For your name's sake, O Lord, pardon my guilt, for it is great. Again, hearing those good things about God just made him realize his guilt even more and the need to confess his sins. Verses 12 through 15 go back to the other voice, not a prayer voice, but a voice of a friend or his internal voice, saying these truths about the Lord. Who is the man who fears the Lord? Him he will instruct in a way that he should choose. His soul shall abide in well-being. His offspring shall inherit the land. The friendship of the Lord is for those who fear him, and he makes known to them the covenant. My eyes are ever towards the Lord, for he will pluck my feet out of the net. Again, we see a little bit of a sandwich there in verses 12 and 14, where we have, for who is the man who fears the Lord? And then it lists those. Him he will instruct. His soul shall abide in well-being. His offspring shall inherit those land. Moving from the present to the future in those three statements. 14, in a way, wraps up, kind of repeats, parallels the first line of verse 14. The friendship of the Lord is for those who fear him, and he makes known to them his covenant. Again, going back to verse 10 as well. Verse 15 then is a statement of faith by either, we're not sure if it was the person who was giving this information to him or the person praying, where it states, my eyes are ever towards the Lord, for he will pluck my feet out of the net. A statement of faith, I take it, not as part of a prayer, but as a realization that it is God who delivers him, not his own righteousness, not his own goodness. That's where we're going to end for today. We'll pick it up again tomorrow as we explore more about this amazing psalm, this lament, and with this dialogue in between to see where the confessor brings, where the psalmist brings this towards the end. We'll see you again tomorrow. Until that time, God bless.